and welcome to the 199th episode of the Game Out Loud podcast, your one and only podcast for all things gaming. With me this week, we have our special guest, a rescue dog. Hello, rescue dog. There, yes, so cute.
Arf, arf, arf.
You do have a cute-looking pup there. And, of course, our more valued guest, Ryan DeBraal.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
It's been quite a while since we've had you, bud.
About a month or two, I think.
Has it
Hasn't
been
that long? Yeah.
Was I there for that
It's a
one?
busy life.
Every moment you're not on the show feels like an eternity, Ryan.
Indeed.
Yeah. I appreciate you having me back. Excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, you have Ryan to thank, dear listener, for this nice new theme we have going on here. Looks like it wasn't slapped together with glue and popsicle sticks like mine was. So thanks, Ryan.
Still kind of a... Yeah, no problem. Still kind of a work in progress, but yeah, I mean, you guys had the good content. I figure you needed a little bit of some cosmetic work, and then you'd be at 10.
Well, I'm still trying to fix this. I just haven't gotten enough money yet. That's going to take quite a bit, given the size of this beak. Speaking of cosmetic work.
Self-improvement is a lifelong process.
I suck at it. I really do. But what I don't suck at is playing video games now. Actually, I do suck at that too. But Ryan, you've been playing quite a few games, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, actually. I've been spying on my Steam.
No, I just know you. Did you ever pick up Everspace?
No, I'm the target audience for Everspace, but I haven't fallen because it is early access. I'm not going to spoil it for myself. But yeah, that looks absolutely incredible. I actually just noticed today that you had it while I was stalking you.
Yeah. It's fun.
But
it's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I just watched the first actual gameplay video of it on one of my, subscribed YouTuber channels, and it seemed really cool. I mean, it is definitely an FTL, but instead of just reading a paragraph, you're actually having an action-packed, adventure.
I'm not sure which I like more, though. I'm not gonna lie. It's I like the idea of what they're coming up with. It needs more drive, and I think they'll get that as they develop more and more for it. Mm-hmm. But the shell of what's there, I think, is an interesting thing with that whole literal it's the same jumping mechanic. Like, do you start here? Do you want to go here, or do you want to go here? Like, which one is it? And you can see that it's literally FTL. But I've been playing that actually quite a bit, and it feels like it's sorely lacking in direction. Is the only problem I have. Because when you get into a place, you're like, what do I do? Like, I don't know if there's a reason for me to stay here, if there's a reason for me to just not jump out immediately. And you kind of have to explore. And exploring in that's not very easy.
There's no... see, the genius part of FTL was the fact that you were constantly being chased. There was the wolves at your back. So you didn't have the luxury of just, exploring. So I think that's probably what they're missing, if I'm not mistaken, is that sense of urgency.
I think they still have that, because I was poking around and all of a sudden, like federal ships or whatever came in, and I got absolutely decimated.
Okay. Cool.
But that's the thing. I only got to like the second or third section because I was sitting there going from area to area trying to look for minuscule upgrades to get money to sell the stuff so I can have money the next time around to upgrade my ship, which that part's really cool, the fact that you can upgrade that stuff. And sorry?
Well, there's some sort of progression in the game, right? Like, after you die, it's not like FTL where, like, well, it's basically didn't happen. You actually do get to continue with some of your stats or something, don't you?
Correct. So you the only thing that carries over from one game to the next as far as collectible is money. So as long as you can get everything and sell it, then you're fine. Then you get that money to then spend on upgrades that go over different levels, right? Or sorry, go over different gameplay. So you have $200. You can take that $200, invest it into your ship, and then all of a sudden you have more energy. And then it jumps to 600. You have to do that like 4 times, and then you get another bit of energy. So it's very, very expensive to upgrade those things. But as you play, you get the ability, and you've got a very, very large screen. It's a full screen worth of upgrades and paths and gets you different things and all that. But as you play, you increase those stats, which gives you better starting stats, which allows you to do better things. So you have more power, more shields, move faster. You can have more weapons. You start with different weapons. You can customize your loadout, stuff like that. I'm working towards loadouts for customization, since that would be nice to be able to choose what you have to start with. Because you can go into an area and you craft stuff, and I'm still learning too. So I think I'm kind of stingy with my crafting materials. Because you're supposed to be able to craft sensors that you hit you hit a button and it shows everything that's there.
Okay.
But they're finite. So me being conservative, I'm like, no, I don't want to use these. I can use these same parts to build missiles or upgrades. So I'll just search around and fly around, and that is very tedious.
Well, I mean, I suppose it's the other thing, because if you have that scanner, that means you don't have to stick around and wait for the enemies to show up on your tail, which means you don't need the weapons. You don't need those missiles. So I suppose that's part of the strategy, is
True.
balancing how many scanners and how many armaments, depending on whether you're playing it for, combat or whatever.
Yeah.
If you're just trying to space through it.
Let's turn that a little bit. There we go. My office is in a little bit of disarray at the moment, but I can still make it look somewhat nice. That's why we're late today. We were going to record at 4:30 Pacific Standard, but I'm moving books and stuff out of here into my other room.
We're also a couple weeks late.
That
Probably bears mentioning.
Yeah, I blame Dylan. Dylan was here.
Yeah, Dylan came over to our houses, knocked the computers down, broke a bunch of shit.
Tripped over a cord, spilled coffee on him.
Yep.
Pretty much.
And then ordered an Uber and fucking left without helping us clean anything up.
Yep.
Man.
That was about it. No, he was in town. We didn't have very much time, so we just kind of glossed over it. He came in on a Monday, left on a Tuesday, so kind of glossed over the time. But it was good seeing him. But let's get to video games. I think would actually be a little bit better than me just recounting about an early access game. So Ryan, what has been actually taking up your time proper in video games?
Let's see. A couple things I played this week. I blasted through Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Okay.
That was a good one.
Great game. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was very cool. I mean,
Brutal
it was as
Deaths.
good as the last one, and the last one was great. So definitely worth the money I spent on it. And then I picked up Just Cause 3.
I love that. You said you loved that.
I think I'm already played out. I mean, what's there more to do? Once you've killed off a couple towns, blowed up a couple speakers, it's just the same thing. I mean,
the problem with that game is that there's no progression for your stuff outside of doing those challenges.
Yeah.
That would have been such a better move, because those challenges suck. They're terrible. You have to do these stupid things that are annoying and pedantic. And it would have been so much better if, using your stuff effectively, around the world, playing, leveling up your character. That doesn't do anything. I don't even think they have an overall level for that game. It's just individual levels of how many gears you put into those different things. That game had such good potential, but that's their upgrade path to make you play all their stupid little mini games and stuff like that. Damn, that just ruined that for me.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of felt like this. It's the same issue I had with Just Cause 2. I don't know if I was a different person when I played the first Just Cause or what happened. But when Just Cause 2 came out and I started up, I just loved Just Cause 1. It was like, oh, this is far superior to GT. I love everything about this game. And then Just Cause 2 just seemed like, I don't know, I don't remember if there was that much.
I think we lost you there, Ryan. So I'm not sure what's going on.
Oops, I got cut off there for a second. I don't know what happened there either. But there's a huge focus on destruction, and that's literally the only thing you do in that game is blow up red silos. Look for red barrels. Red barrels, the game.
Yeah, it's a great sandbox in search of some structure, and without a little bit of structure to push you on, it's hard to get excited about doing the blowing stuff up part.
And we're going to cover that
later
on this episode too, because that's going to be part of the discussion that I have planned for you guys.
Okay.
All right.
The multiplayer mod for Just Cause 2 is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. It is so fun.
Is there multiplayer in Just Cause 3?
I think even the multiplayer team that made it for 2 even was like, yeah, we're not going to touch that.
Wow. Okay.
It's kind of broken too on the PC.
Just Cause 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so, unfortunately.
I had no problems with it. Of course, I picked it up many months after, its release window. So, I got the actual finished product.
Yeah. Oh, man. So, check this out, world. You all remember Dylan, if you've been listening to the podcast for a while. He moved into the middle of nowhere, and he's like, man, I don't know what to do. I'm like, oh, why don't you watch a movie? Oh,
this is also Yeah, this is why Dylan is no longer on the podcast.
Correct.
If for people who've been wondering.
He's
And
country folk now.
pretty much. And then I'm like, hey, well, he's like, well, I'm gonna go buy a video game. Like, is Steam having any good deals? And I'm like, how are you gonna download any video games, son? You ain't got no internet. He literally can't get internet. So he's like, oh, I'll go get a PS4 game. And I was like, day one patch, bro. Like, if you had got that with No Man's Sky, you wouldn't have a functional game, and you couldn't return it.
Or we don't either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. Well, so he bought Mafia 3, which he's been playing. He says it hasn't been too bad. He hasn't updated it or anything, so I'm not sure how many glitches he's had. I've had quite a few on the PC, but that's been rather interesting, and I don't know if it's due to Steam Link or not, but I'll cover that more here later on. But Ryan, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
No, I mean, besides Just Cause 3, I did pre-order Shadowrun. Oops, I'm getting ahead of myself. Shadow Warrior 2.
Yes.
That's what it is. And if you had Hard Reset Redux in your library, you got an extra 10% off. On top of the 20% off, they're offering it.
Is it still on sale?
Well, I don't know.
Shadow
I
Warrior?
cashed in on a 30% discount. So I got Hard Reset Redux, which, I mean, if you played the first one, the Hard Reset, it's pretty good. You know,
Shadow Warrior is $39. Shadow Warrior 2 is $35.99.
Yeah. And like I said, if you have it's like Flying Hogs or something like that is the company. If you have like past Flying Hogs games in your library, you get an extra discount on top of that. So totally worthwhile. I mean, it's totally worthwhile assuming Shadow Warriors is awesome as all the gameplay footage seems to indicate that it is.
Well, did you like the other one? I was gonna say the original, but that's not accurate.
Yeah, I liked it just fine. I mean, it was, I don't know what you'd call it, more like a Serious Sam sort of FPS experience, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Circle strafing the game, you know, and that's fine. I thought they kind of missed on the humor part, you know what I mean? Obviously, oh yeah, the guy's name's Wang, that's funny.
No, his name is Lo Wang.
Lo Wang, okay, yeah. I mean, but like,
I don't know. I was
like,
kind of funny when he's driving his little Datsun singing, "You've got the touch."
I don't know. I mean, for me, it didn't hit because like I was a big fan of the Build Engine one. You know, I mean, coming straight from Duke Nukem 3D, the very next thing I played was Shadow Warrior, and you know, I mean, being so influenced by the Build Engine. You know, I mean, the Build Engine was the reason I became a computer programmer in my life, is making video games for Duke Nukem 3D, and then Shadow Warrior came out and it had like transparent water effects. I'm like, whoa! And then they had the same sort of lewd humor, you know. That Nukem did, and I didn't think Shadow Warrior's humor was quite up to.
Well, I think they were afraid of being as racist as the first.
I suppose, yeah, it's a different era.
It doesn't, yeah. Some of that stuff doesn't hold up so well, but the game itself is fucking awesome. That original Shadow Warrior, like the level design's really good, combat's really good. It's classic. It's right up there with Duke 3D, I think.
Yeah,
I'll be buying it.
Yeah, I mean, and the new ones the new one looks absolutely incredible. I mean, they definitely took their time with developing the combat system. You know, it seems a lot more based on give and take from the enemy. You know, it's not just slash slash slash. You know, press X to have fun. You know, it seems like there's more like combinations and stuff like that. And as I understand it, and don't take my word for it, there's something to the effect of you have like upgradable like classes of weapons and stuff.
Ooh, like, that sounds like it'd be good.
It was something like you use claws on red demons, and then you know there's weapons, and those weapons, depending on who you're using them, are more or less effective, as far as I remember. But I might not be totally accurate with that. But yeah, so got Hard Reset. But playing that is just basically a wave after wave of robot killing. And I got that because I've been on a steampunk run just lately. That's why Shadowrun slipped out of my mouth. It's been a steampunk weekend. I watched Blade Runner, and I bought Hard Reset, and
Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
You said steampunk.
Oh, sorry.
I was like, this doesn't sound accurate, but whatever.
No, yeah.
Thief and Dishonored.
Right. No. Okay. Sorry, my mistake. So yeah, Cyberpunk. Yeah. Sorry. So I picked up a game that's actually pretty interesting, called Dex. You probably haven't heard of it. It's a side-scrolling platformer RPG, actually, or more like action adventure, I'd say. And it basically takes place in a cyberpunk dystopian future, as they all do, where mega corporations run every facet of your life, and it rains all the time.
Yeah.
The inevitable future that awaits our children. But it's actually pretty neat because it's also kind of a beat 'em up. So if you like the old Double Dragons, it's basically that game, but in a cyberpunk future. But you have missions and stuff like that. It's open world. That's what makes it really neat. Is it's a side-scrolling open world. So the way they get around that is you like enter through doors, and then it's a whole different section, and then that section will have a door in it, which enters another section. So it's a lot. It's kind of in the vein of Symphony of the Night, I guess, or the Metroidvania sort of things. It's made by, I don't want to say a no-name developer, but not one I've ever heard of. I believe Dex is the only game they actually have. But I thought they did a really good job with the world design, and with the combat is a little bit stilted. But again, I think that's like their first game. It's definitely a labor of love, and it was like $5. So I think it's definitely a worth purchase. I mean, if you like Double Dragon, or if you like the cyberpunk aesthetic, or you want to experience a side-scrolling open world game, it's a good time.
By the way, Ryan, I got to call back to a Game Out Loud podcast favorite. I just bought it. Thanks for that.
I don't even know what's happening right now. What are you talking about?
Our old slogan. I just bought it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I just bought Shadow Warrior 2.
Right. So I convinced you. Cool.
Yes.
Very good.
Oh, not Dex. Okay.
No, I didn't buy Dex.
Oh, you bought Shadow. Oh, well. What am I just filling in time for you, Jordan? It's your turn to talk again?
No, I just wanted to say you convinced me to buy Shadow Warrior.
Well, I mean, a single screenshot of Shadow Warrior would convince somebody to buy Shadow Warrior. I had to really sell Dex. I had to be like,
how do you spell
support
Dex?
the small indie
D-E-X?
developer. Yeah.
Dex. Butcher. Interesting art style this game's got.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I said. And, since I was on kind of a cyberpunk bender or whatever, I figured I'd pick it up, try it out. And like I said, there's just something quaint and cool about the game, because you could tell it's made by a small team. They did it as a labor of love. It's probably some guy's idea that he's had in his head for 10 years. He's wanted to do this. You can tell when a game is somebody's dream come true. Their lifelong dream come to fruition, to have their game on Steam, So I think it's definitely worth supporting, small developers like that, especially when they make a pretty quality game. I don't want to oversell it. There's some weird stuff in there. Actually, there's only one weird thing in there. There's a lack of sound effects. Like, certain things don't have sound effects when they definitely should. So you'll open a door, there'll be nothing. But you'll pound somebody, it'll be like, poop, poop, poop. You can imagine the weirdness is if you were like walking around a world and like you dropped a glass on the ground and it shattered and there was no noise. There was nothing. It's like, wait, what? And it just seems kind of like a random, and I don't think it's a bug. I think it's just lack of sound engineering on their parts. They're like, we don't.
Huh.
So it really hurts the atmosphere a little bit.
Yeah, and it's not that expensive to get like a little sound effects library,
Right.
in the grand scheme of game development. Kind of weird.
I don't know. So
Yeah.
it does feel kind. It
Or-
does feel kind of weird. Yeah,
Or the developer going.
Yeah,
whoosh.
yeah. Even if you're gonna do ka-ching.
The weeps, the beeps, and the sweeps.
Yeah. So I was really kind of weird. Like I
Beeps
said,
and
I don't think it
boops.
was an error with my sound device or anything like that, or.
Was your Sound Blaster card properly plugged into your
Yeah, I was
SCSI
gonna
port?
say. Did you configure your Sound Blaster 16?
Right.
Is your Voodoo 3 giving you problems?
Yeah, it might be my 3DFX card.
You might need to
Fucking
upgrade to that 4th meg of RAM.
I don't know. It's $280 a megabyte.
I know, right? Ugh. Just to play Duke Nukem.
But yeah, no, I got the 66 megahertz processor, so I got the stats
You got the
to run the game.
awesome. Well, thanks, bud. What have you been playing there, Rob?
So this week I was in Colorado for Game Out Loud podcast founder and ex-host Colin Cooper's wedding.
Mm-hmm. How did that go?
Went very well. Congratulations to him and his wife
Yeah.
Lauren.
Indeed.
Had a grand old time.
Wait, he's got a wife now?
He does.
That's
That's
what
what
follows
the wedding
marriage.
is for.
Jordan.
Oh,
That's-
that's right.
somebody's got to sit you down and have a talk.
Yeah.
I
Babies
don't
are
know
made
what
by
you thought you
shaking
got out of
hands.
your marriage, but the answer is a wife. But
Well,
while I was
congratulations
there,
to Colin.
yeah, we need to get him back on the show. Maybe we'll see if we can get him on for the 200th next week.
Maybe now that he doesn't have a girlfriend anymore, he can be on the podcast.
Yeah, should have way more free time now, right?
Mm-hmm. He doesn't have to maintain anything. He's already got her.
Oh,
Yeah,
jeez.
that's right.
Window
That's
into
the-
Jordan's marriage, folks.
No, it's actually quite the opposite. I'm just kidding. Anyway, what were you saying?
So while I was there, I hung out with another Game Out Loud regular, Jack Wefso.
Oh, yes. How's he doing?
Pretty good. And while we were visiting the quite legal Rocky Mountain High,
Nice.
he showed me a video game I have never played called Earth Defense Force.
EDF.
Apparently, this is a very long-running series. You guys are familiar with this?
Isn't that the insect killing simulator, right? The
Yeah,
giant
the-
insect
The Giant Insects.
game. Yeah.
Terrible voice acting.
Oh, yeah.
Horrible writing that doesn't even make sense, at least on this one. But yeah, we played Earth Defense Force 4.1, The Shadow of New Despair.
Ooh.
Split screen co-op on Steam. And let me tell you something. We played that shit for like 4 hours, and we had a grand old time the whole
Right.
time. It is, it's super basic graphics, uncomplicated gameplay. Like I said, horrible writing, horrible voice acting, but
Great.
almost
Sounds fantastic.
So it's a,
Yeah.
like a B movie sort of appeal.
yeah. The voice acting is kind of so bad it's good. People even like stumble over lines. And everything sounds like the first take. I mean, it sounds like there's like some teacher or something that lives in Japan that just answered a Craigslist ad to do the voice acting for them,
Mhm.
after they plugged in everything into Google Translate.
We tried to make
And
him
he
say
just read it as
irrevocably.
is. So yeah, it's like an old Godzilla dub or something.
It's irrecoverable.
But it's just a really good co-op game. And you definitely do shoot a lot of giant insects, and they keep calling the enemies giant insects even when they're clearly arachnids and giant robots and other non-insect
How do you know they're not
things to
insects?
fight.
What is that? You're
Their
not
anatomy,
classified. He's not classified to say that.
not classified.
Yeah. Shut
Yeah,
up.
You're sentencing pretty good there, Jordan.
I know. English good. You can't classify
You should have been
that.
a voice actor for this game.
I don't speak good.
It's good. It's $50 on Steam. I don't think it's $50 good.
Ugh.
It does have like a 10 out of 10 with 1,500 reviews. So people are clearly loving it. But I think it's $29.99 on PS4 is what I saw, which is probably a better place to pick it up at that price point. But yeah, we had a lot of fun playing that. And the other thing I've been putting some time into, just kind of getting my bearings with, is Rocksmith 2014.
Yeah, I saw you fire that up the other day. That's the
Yeah.
one with the real guitar, right?
Yep. So you have to have a real guitar and an amp and the whatever it's called cable that hooks in from your amp to your PC. Then you have to buy the game on top of it. So several $100s initial investment if you don't have any of that
Nobody
stuff.
said being a rock star was easy.
Nope, or cheap. But it's a really good way to learn guitar. And yeah, I played a little bit of guitar in high school. It had been about 8 years since I'd picked one up, really. And going back to this,
Jordan, get your mouse off my face.
Well, sorry.
God.
I was working. I was
Professional
working
production,
on.
people.
Yeah, on Steam. Sorry. My
People are
apologies.
watching this.
2 of them. Anyway, Rob, you were saying.
Wait.
Sorry.
Yeah, if you want to learn how to play guitar, this is probably the best way I've seen so far. and it's a lot cheaper than taking guitar lessons, all told.
Mm-hmm.
So there's hundreds of songs you can buy as DLC. Like I picked up some Cure and some Slayer and some stuff I was more familiar with, because a lot of the stuff that comes in default is not really stuff I generally listen to. I've been learning that stuff, and it just takes you through. Like it'll start you off one string at a time and then slowly move you up to chords, and it kind of adapts to how well you're playing along. It'll kick the difficulty back down if you screw up too much.
Huh.
And then it keeps a running tally of how of the percentage of the song you're able to play by yourself.
Nice.
And so once you're done with the song, you just kind of keep boosting it up. And then as far as what it's actually like, if you've played Guitar Hero or Rock Band, very, very similar, except obviously you're dealing with real frets and real strings. But the interface, real similar to that as far as controls go. So
Dylan was a huge advocate for that when he was on the podcast.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's a great idea. I mean, it's like having your own music teacher that you can turn on and off. I think that's awesome. I mean, especially if it's an effective teacher, and it sounds like it is.
Yeah. And it's good that it has so many available songs, because I don't think that this would be nearly worth the investment.
I mean, I'm sure it's DLC crazy, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. What is it, 99 cents a song or something?
Yeah, it might be a little more than that. It might be $1 or $2. But it's not like they're pretty fair about it. They don't force you into buying big packages of songs just to get one song. You can buy it. It's completely a la carte. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't feel any pressure to go out and spend $50 on it. It's like I think I spent $8 on DLC and I got all the songs I wanted. So that's pretty fair. The interface, as far as like once you're playing the guitar, everything's great. But as far as the menus and mouse systems and stuff go, it's pretty console-y and kind of obnoxious. Like the intro videos are unskippable and just kind of some bad port stuff. But that's such a small percentage of what you're spending your time doing in the game. It's not that big a deal, I've found. Just worth noting.
Awesome. Well, thanks for the input. I want to get that game. I've owned it for years.
It seems like something that like I want, but I know if I had it, I wouldn't invest the time to really justify it.
Right.
So I mean, you really have to have,
It's like children.
Exactly. There you go. If you're gonna develop a talent, you really have to have that drive in the first place. I mean, the irony being, I have a guitar right there that I probably haven't picked up in 6 months.
I have one right over there.
Prove it.
I'm kind of.
You don't have to prove it.
I'm kind of hemmed in at the moment.
No.
If you're not already good at guitar, you're not going to be like rocking out full chords in 2 hours.
You're not going to be playing more than a feeling, just up on your own, just hanging out.
Yeah, like I've got 2.5 hours in, and I feel like I've just scratched the surface. I could easily see spending 100, 200 hours in this before I really felt like I was getting good at stuff.
All right, so go ahead and play the intro to "Life in the Fast Lane" by the Eagles for me, if you would.
I only play good music.
Ouch. What do you play again? Like what songs did you get for your
Slayer
DLC?
and whatnot. He's classic metal.
Ah, yes, that sounds like rock.
Yeah. I got Raining Blood and got a couple Cure songs. And then there's some good stuff that's already in the game that it comes with.
Awesome.
No shitty Eagles.
Shitty Eagles. The Eagles are awesome. Yeah. Hotel California
is the one song.
Life in the Fast Lane.
is all you decide. Right, the Eagles are awesome. I mean, that one song.
On a dark desert highway. Anyway, let's go on to.
It's one of the greatest songs ever created.
Indeed, it's fantastic. I think for me, we're going to go ahead and split into the topic because it does contain what I've been wanting to talk about. So, world building in games, like open world versus like very linear games. Right now, I am playing Mafia 3. To which I was streaming for a friend of mine who like continuously kept saying, the game you're playing is shit right now, right? This is a piece of garbage. This world is shit. It's awful and there's no redeeming value. Oh, look how pretty it looks. was basically how this guy was acting when I was playing this game, and it made me think like, I'm having a decent time with this game. What was it from his perspective that he didn't find to be appealing about this? And it made me think about the fact that open world games, like lots of different games have done open world different ways, right? Which game did it best? Which game, like, and why? And does that vary depending on what kind of game you're building?
I would honestly, I have to disagree with you right up front there. I think lots of different games have done open world the same way.
True.
It's the same game all the time. I mean, I just got done talking about Just Cause 3. All you do is the same thing. You go to you go to point A, you run a comedy-esque, hopefully funny cutscene to explain your objective, and then you proceed to repeat that over and over and over until you complete that objective, which unlocks the next, location. I mean, it's the same thing.
Meanwhile,
there are side quests dotted all over the place.
How do you find those side quests, though? You climb up a tower if you're Ubisoft, or you just...
Right, exactly.
But yeah, when it comes to action games, discounting racing games and flight sims and stuff like that, but open world action games, there's two choices and any combination thereof: the Bethesda way and the Rockstar way. And Ubisoft, depending on the game, like the Far Cry games are kind of halfway in between. The Assassin's Creed games are way more on the Rockstar side, where everything's like heavily instanced and you're just running, you're doing the icon hunting and all these really contrived actions. And then you have the more sandbox, heavily simulated Elder Scrolls stuff, which I prefer usually. There's exceptions, like an actual Rockstar game, they usually do a good job.
It's all gotten pretty lackluster for me. I mean, Fallout 4 was probably like the last open world game that I really enjoyed, but did I really enjoy it, or did I remember really enjoying New Vegas? I mean, the whole thing seemed kind of like it's good looking and it is Fallout, and I guess I'm exploring, but games like that are made or killed based on their environment, their environmental storytelling. You know what I mean? It's location, 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 and that's why.
Actually,
go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just thought of one that another open world game that actually nails it across the board, and I know you're a fan of this series, Ryan, and that's Stalker.
Oh yeah,
that's done right.
Stalker is the best open world game, bar none, in my opinion, and only because it seems like they had a terrain engine and they had a couple blueprints of some buildings, and they just slapped the buildings on the map. They didn't sculpt the entire world to and run it through play testers to find out the flow or whatever. They just like, we downloaded all the Ukrainian factory blueprints we could find and stuck them into CAD, and then slapped spider webs in the corner. Deal with it. And then they stuck monsters in it. And it was just such a great exploratory experience because it wasn't the world made for you. It was you exploring a world that really doesn't like you, And so part of the wonder of Stalker is its survival. But from an exploration standpoint, it's so different from a Grand Theft Auto or every game Ubisoft makes, because it was all about what it wasn't about was a world that was just designed for you to, fill up bars, and that's really what all these other games are. It's like, oh, you got 23 of the 40,000 hidden gemstones of old, unlock 10 more and then you can do this. Unlock 10 more and you can unlock some more stuff,
Well, that's what drives the game.
See, that's not really a driving force for me, I mean, I guess there are completionists out there. There's plenty of them, there's plenty of people that's what they want to do with the game is complete it, every facet of it. I mean, I tried to play completionist on Shadow of Mordor, and I thought, this is such a great game, everything's good. I'm going to go to every objective, I'm going to clean out every single thing, and that's exactly what I did. And as soon as I cleaned out everything on the board, I went to the last mission, and they're like, oh yeah, by the way, there's a second world. this hole in the ground. This hole in the ground is not the entire game. This is half the game. So you want to do it again? No.
That game had
Well,
such potential.
Well,
It was a
not only
great game.
potential, it was
Yeah.
a great game. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope it becomes a series. I mean, because
But and it wasn't a great open world game though. It was great for reasons outside of being an open world game.
And that's one thing. It's like that's how I'm kind of feeling about Mafia. Because Mafia is open world, and granted, I'm only a couple hours in. I'm about 3 hours in. Don't pay attention to my Steam numbers. I pulled a Ryan DeBraal.
yeah, it's 38 hours.
Yeah.
Just this morning. Looked at that. It's like, yep, he's leaving it on in the background.
Well, it's because I keep getting to spots that I get stuck on, and I'm playing late at night, and I don't want to turn it off because it doesn't save mid mission.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, oh, I'll just leave it and I'll come back to it later, which I just did. I came and beat that part, and then now I own that racket. So it's pretty good. I'm having a good time with it, playing that game. It definitely feels like they're wanting it to be more story driven, more plot driven. It doesn't feel like GTA where there's stuff all over the place for you to do, at least not yet.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it'll get that way later, but there are different points on my map that I can see what's going on, but it really does feel more geared towards pushing everything forward and having to go around, which subsequently my buddy pointed out that that makes like, what did he say? I don't remember. What did he say, Ryan? You were there for that.
I do not recall. I can honestly tell you, I don't recall.
Something about the fact that if you have a story-driven game, it makes the open world rather worthless.
Yeah, I suppose I could sort of stand behind that statement. I mean, it's the irony of linear versus open world, right? When you're doing a linear game, you control everything. You basically have a movie, but it feels like it's on a track. So it's almost like, why am I playing this game? All I'm doing is walking in the same shoes that a million other gamers have walked in. Whereas in an open world game, you're like, well, there's so many options. What's the point? I'm just going to run through the main campaign and shut it off. So, I mean, inevitably, people are going to be just find something that isn't quite right. There's not going to be a good enough balance. You know, it's very rare where you can have such a sprawling world coupled with such a tight narrative. I mean, I can't think of one that did a very good job other than the Elder Scrolls games. Like even Fallout was just sort of like, yes, let's take you on a whirlwind tour around the tourist destinations of post-apocalyptic Massachusetts. And by the way, the old man's your son. Spoilers.
Well, like, again, to mention Stalker, I think they did a pretty good job just because of the way the story of that game unfolds. It's so tied to you exploring the world and going around, and also it just feels different because it's not like what you're actually doing in that game, gameplay wise, isn't crossing off a list of generic tasks that can be easily repeated over and over. They kind of just send you in a general direction with a goal, and you handle it how you want to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's not like in Watch Dogs where it's like drive around and shoot 5 different guys that look like this. Yeah,
exactly.
Or like
hack 12 cameras. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not stupid stuff like that. It's like you need to go into this factory and get to the bottom level of this place and see what's going on there, and how you do that. Like there's lots of different ways you can approach it.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of, I don't know, it just feels more organic the way everything unfolds in that game until the last 10% of the game, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. Is as soon as they take what makes Stalker special and try and wrap it up, it's like, yeah, this isn't very entertaining. Where they try and tie everything together at the very end. But yeah, I think we're just having open world fatigue is when it comes down to it. I don't think there's been a really original open world concept, and I'm sure if I were to look at the Steam Greenlight and early access pages on Steam, I would be completely mistaken. You know what I mean? But as far as the popular AAA games, open world is just what better way to say it? It's just another box to tick, right? It's another thing that they put on the back of the box. It's just another blurb. So
the closest we got to an interesting one in the last several years was DayZ. And if they hadn't fucked up, and if not just them fucked up, but everyone else who attempted that genre fucked up,
Yeah.
No one's nailed it yet.
Nobody, yeah. Just newsflash for developers. I don't want to eat chicken every 10 minutes and not fall down on my face. That's not survival. That's bar filling. Gee, I mean, if anybody got that dehydrated, they would be in the hospital. Where if you're walking across the football field, it's like, oh, well, got to drink 7 Cokes, or what, whatever the thing is, that the whole survival genre, they all try to do the same thing. They're like, oh, we have 3 bars or whatever, and you got to keep them up. You get your hunger and you get your funnily enough, Stalker actually had hunger, and they had radiation. They had all this other stuff. You had to eat in Stalker. Sometimes you got hungry, but it didn't force you in your face. I don't think there was I don't remember. I think and you had to bandage yourself on top of that. So Stalker had all these systems that ran in the background that were just simple. I think F1 through 4 was all your hotkeys to take care of your stuff. Oh, you're hungry? Press F1. You've been picking up cans of dog food this whole time. You might as well eat them.
Yummy.
And you're bleeding, and you're bleeding. You press F3, which isn't the same as healing. That's a whole nother thing. Just stop yourself from bleeding first, then heal yourself. Otherwise, you're just wasting your med kits. And with all these other games, it's just a bunch of bar filling. I mean, your whole point is to fill up your bar for as much as you can, so you can actually have a window of time where you don't have to worry about maintaining your fragile body and actually experience the game, and then go fill your bar again.
Yeah, that's ideal. No one ever seems to find that balance. You're right, of hey, this is just right where I feel like I have to do this, but not that it's just crappily done. And that's severely frustrating. Yeah, how much food can you eat? It's literally if I ate this much caloric intake, I would probably be dead.
Right. So if you are running 20 miles without stopping, so
true.
Maybe.
So one, I guess we should mention, or maybe 2, because there were 2 good games in the last little bit here that were open world. Of course, The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
Which
and Metal Gear Solid.
An amazing, and Metal Gear Solid was the other one, which I don't think actually used its open worldness that much. They kind of felt like
sections,
Deus Ex sized levels that were plopped into an open world for no reason.
Exactly.
Honestly, to me, Metal Gear Solid felt like, it felt like they didn't know how to do an open world game, because the entire game was just a bunch of corridors leading to open areas with 6 corridors leading to other open areas. It was so valley tunnel. It was just so weird, where it's just you never got to. If you were in one part of the map and you had to go to the other part of the map, it's I have to go to the North Valley, and then I have to go to the East Valley, and then I have to go north again, and I got to take that diagonal road south. There was never that wonder of Elder Scrolls and Fallout and Stalker, where it's gentle rolling hills that lead you into the next area, where you can actually see realistic terrain. It was just a series of corridors, with no ceiling. Really, that's all. That's what Metal Gear Solid seemed to me. And Witcher was great. I actually finished Witcher a couple of weeks ago, and it took a lot of effort. There was nothing wrong with the game at all, other than they were so packed in so much quality. It's just I can't take this anymore. I can't get invested in these people's lives. Okay, I got my own stuff to worry about. I can't, I have 60 fully voice acted multi-part subquests in my backlog here. It's okay.
And that's the key. That's what separates The Witcher is they didn't just make all the side quests and little things you find just menial bullshit.
Yeah, you walk up to them and they go,
everything.
Huh?
Everything was tied to an interesting story.
Yeah,
even the little stupid stuff you were doing, and so it made everything interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that was definitely a great one. I mean, really, the only thing wrong with that game is Roach is the worst fucking horse in the history of video games.
Yeah.
Screw that horse. I mean, when I'm actually just being I'll just run there. It might be a little slower, but at least I don't have to deal with Roach.
Come on, he had auto run.
He had auto run that would always choose the wrong fork in the path.
Yes, he would.
So you have to watch him. You have to watch him.
That the horse from Oblivion was pretty bad.
Yeah, but at least it could walk up the side of fucking mountains.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I don't know what you're
Kinda.
talking about.
No, no,
No,
no.
it
That was
You
an
jump.
all-terrain horse, dude.
If you jumped
And it would-
and you could jump,
Yeah,
you could get like
fall off. You would drop that. Horses in Oblivion were just meant to be ridden into the ground. You would go off a 5-foot drop and it would die, and then you just like step off, like mid horse
See,
death. You just step
probably
off.
just
and
didn't
keep
have your
walking
horse armor
and
on,
steal
though.
another horse. That's
Yeah.
true. I should have bought the
Yeah,
horse armor
I mean-
DLC.
It's only $3. It's not a big deal, guys.
well, it was 5 back then, so maybe we
So-
can get it now.
Whoa, sounds like we got a horse armor buyer back then, huh? I never bought the horse armor.
Someone didn't get it on sale.
Right.
I think I actually owned that horse armor back in the day. I had all of Oblivion's DLC,
Oh,
like the Realms of Madness. That was such a good DLC,
Realms of Madness.
wasn't that?
You mean the
Isles,
what was the
Isles of
that
Madness?
called?
No, Shea
Uh,
Gorath.
Isles of Madness.
It's Shea
think you're
Gorath.
right.
Gorath, yeah. It had a name though that was different than that.
Are we talking about Oblivion or Morrowind?
Oblivion.
Oblivion.
Shivering Isles?
Shivering
Yes.
Isles. That's what it was.
There.
Yeah, that was that was way better than the core game.
Oh,
The
hell
main
yeah.
Oh,
version
really? I never
kinda
played it.
sucked.
Dude, the Shivering Isles was the best expansion I've played in a
Oh.
expansion like that. It was a whole nother section. It was a whole nother world. It brought things in you'd never seen before. It was damn near as good as Bloodmoor or Tribunal for Morrowind.
Oh, Blood Moon?
Blood Moon or Tribunal. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, those
Great.
weren't very good.
That's why I can
They were
remember.
Yeah, I know. See, I think the best
Blood Moon
DLC
was pretty
I
good.
remember was Point Lookout for, was it Fallout 3?
Yeah, no, that was Lookout.
Yeah, it's the one where you're in the bayou fighting a bunch of post-apocalyptic rednecks, hillbillies.
I don't know that one.
You don't know that one?
No.
Oh yeah,
I
you.
didn't play much Fallout 3.
Oh really? Yeah, you get into a boat, and I believe it's called Point Lookout. I believe it's in Missouri actually. I assumed it was like Louisiana or something like that, but I guess there's a Point Lookout, Missouri. That's
I had
swamp
Fallout
country.
3 ruined for me by Fallout 3, so I
do you mean?
I beat the game, and I accidentally went into an area. I didn't mean to beat the game. I was still exploring, and I wasn't paying attention. I was just running and running. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to go to the main area. In fact, I've been ignoring the main end, and then I ended up opening a door, and it was the way I just didn't pay attention. It was the door in to finish the game. And then the game ended, and my character died, and I couldn't go back and play anything. So I was like, "Oh, son of a
Wait,
bitch!"
you only had one save file or something?
Back then, yeah,
It-
on PlayStation.
Oh, this was on console. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah. I mean, by then, yeah, I got a cool 1,000 quick saves in
Yeah.
any of those games. You know?
to go back to. Yeah, that would have been
Mhm.
that'd have been ideal, but that was not what happened. So
No, that's too bad. Well, I mean, even that's not a showstopper because literally the DLC for Fallout 3 was an extension after the end of the game when the Enclave showed up.
correct, but
So it
I'd already beaten it by that time. So I was like, well, I'm done.
Mm,
It sucked.
didn't really trip your trigger, huh?
Yeah, well, I had a great time playing it when I did. But when I was like, really, this is the end, and then that was the end, I was like, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not playing
I mean,
this
it's not
anymore.
it's not like Mass Effect 3 style BS, but
True.
you know, I mean,
La
it
la
was,
la
wasn't
la
very
la.
strong.
Still haven't played Mass Effect 3.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Are those considered open world games, open universe games?
I do recall a slight dust up among the community when that came out. There was a few people were slightly miffed by the ending of that game. I heard.
They probably just didn't get it, honestly.
They probably pushed the wrong button.
Hey, he hasn't played it.
Huh?
Rob hasn't played it. He doesn't even know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So that was a joke to you. It's like when you take your kid to the movie.
Oh, it's like
They
when
don't get
parents
the-
talk in front of their children, Jordan? Is
Yes.
that-
It's exactly it. I was just saying it was a joke, an
Mm-hmm.
inside joke, and then you had to point it out and ruin everything, Ryan.
Yes, but you can see his mind's working on that. Like, what button? What do you mean button? Buttons are switches.
What he's
Switches
going
are
is
options.
button. Who's got the
Oh my god!
Who's that behind you, Rob? I was gonna say it's pretty dark in there, dude.
Yeah, I think that
I always
means
do this.
I think
always
Rob
forget to
does
turn the
this
light
so
on.
I know it's time to wrap up for him because it's once Rob starts receding in the dark, I generally start wrapping up the podcast like right now. So
He's been
uh,
fading to black since things started.
yeah, like what I should do is just have do 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 as he's like falling backwards.
I see a red door and I won't.
Actually,
Black.
I was going Fade to Black by Metallica, but that works too.
Yeah,
But Ryan, thanks very much for coming on this week.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And Rob, thanks for like being a floating head at this point because you're wearing a black shirt.
you're welcome, Jordan.
The big giant head.
And you, listener, of course, thanks for tuning in and turning out. What did Leary used to say? Turn on, tune in, and drop out. Is that what it was?
It's the old hippie saying.
Yeah. Anyway, do that. Listen to the podcast. iTunes, sometime soon. Podcast here,
Yeah,
definitely.
If Jordan ever puts the audio files back up online.
If he does.
Done for 8 months.
8 months. It hasn't been 8 months. It's been 3. But I do need to get those updated. But you can find all of our stuff on here and then our backlog over on GameOutLoudPodcast.com or iTunes if you want to listen to more. But yeah, if you want to get a hold of us, you can find us at GameOutLoudPodcast@gmail.com or on Twitter at GameOutLoudcast. Ryan, do you have any contact information you want to put out?
Well, I guess I do go on the Twitter handle actualgameplayer.com.
There you go.
Or actual game player. And I have an actualgameplayer.com website actually, but I haven't written on it for a while. But so yeah, if you agree with everything I have to say and you want your own ideas to be reinforced, you can read all my articles there.
Awesome. So actualgameplayer.com and at actualgameplayer is Mr. Ryan DeBraal there. So check him out, give him a follow, and write disparaging remarks all over the website.
The spam Bob's doing already.
Right.
Apparently, you can make $300 an hour working from home.
It's amazing, and apparently only one little pill can change my life. I don't know what that pill is, but I'll have to click on that later.
Cyanide.
Oh, ouch! I'm gonna go eat some almonds. You guys have a good week. Ciao. Extra scenes. Rob is shoving hockey pucks in his mouth, apparently. This is impressive. Wow.
That's not really.
The blackness has entered your mouth, Rob. That's how dark your soul is as it's coming out. That's really weird looking. And that's the last thing everybody will see.